Hey guys, welcome back. Let's begin. Welcome to the Udata Sports Festival. My listeners, I present Mike accompanied by Eraserhead, are the host of this event. To spice up things more, the announcement echoes the round arena, followed by the cheers and applause of appreciation and excitement. One in year. Event did fire up the mood entirely and present Mike one of those who gone crazy doing work. Alongside a non-well paid mummified Izawa. Not loving the idea of being here in the first place. The criticism still stands though. Many heroes gathered here as a spectators. Half of them are gossip freaks. Complain always even if whatever anyone does for them. These are time passes anyways. But still they are here looking grumpy or arrogant as ever. Doing comments to rile up others. Mostly it did work. These types of heroes was those who never got their desired spots in the hero rankings and they're still stuck in those 3 or 4 digit numbers. With thousands of excited roars. Nobody heard one agonized scream. Which obviously did not catch anyone's attention. The pained cry lingered though. Kept at the verge of passing out or death. However, neither of the darkness consumed the wailing hero. He was held upright. More forcibly, that is. In fact, his body got lifted a bit in the air while the iron grip on his neck pinned him against the white walls of the top hallway. Nobody saw this happening though. Izuku Hood was covering his identity as he held the man on the spot while staring at his stained soul. Attempted robbery. Harassment. The two of the many misdeeds done by the man. Either cleanse his soul or collect his soul. Two options and Izuku chose the first one. Cleanse him. Not like he did with other few heroes who did not committed big crimes. No. Izuku cleanses his soul with making the man experience the pain and suffering of others he messed with and drive the man to a point that he'll fear of even thinking of doing sin. That's how Izuku did his work. With the man agonized screams. The trick was working. How? Because the hero already begging for forgiveness and mercy. Crying that he'll never do anything ever again. I wish the things go way smoother. Don't ya think? But you had to forget your work. Izuku said harshly. Shoving the man away. The soul cleaning done. The hero however had to endure the pain a lot more than a not Izuku concern. Though. The hero little did get a relief. At least compared to what he felt in Izuku hands. Meaning the pain is still agonizingly unbearable. Izuku crouched down facing the man who fearfully and painfully watched him. I hope this sorts out my concerns towards you. You don't have to try changing what you do. But expect a fire bath while you're at it? Izuku said darkly. Shaking the man to its core as another scream escapes his mouth. Choice is yours to make. Now I got business around. Bye. Izuku waved standing up and walking away. After bit of slow walk. Izuku eventually reached the top balcony. People who mostly wasn't as lucky enough to get seats. Sans up here. Either way. The excitement of it did not faltered an inch. Standing a bit far enough from others. Izuku let his hood drop as cool wind brushes past his fluffy white hair. His white hair represents ashes of the remains of suffering souls in pit of hell. A mark to the rider who conquered them all with the title of berserker or hunter. You name it, something that's a terrifying force. The rider matches up with the description. Izuku took a long breath as pyro booming as the festival officially began. Now. Welcome the little listeners who'll possibly go beyond our expectations. Ladies and gentlemen. With a scream, let's welcome the future heroes. OOHH year. Present Mike announced, and Izuku chuckled, amused by the way one his past pursuer's talking style. No more like screaming. Minding his attention to what's going on the field. His enhanced eyes picked up every student who walked out of the waiting room. Majority of them was nervous though. And that all was mostly the hero course students, knowing they're getting more attention than any businesses studies or normal course. Over 100 students came out looking up at the crowd. Izuku was already impressed though. Even though his analysis mind dead long time ago. Still he could sense their power. He did refuse to comparing them one another or to himself. Knowing they can do good in their own ways. Among them. Izuku spotted many with sin soul. But the sins aren't unforgivable. They are just, misguided. By their former school. And thinking of that. Ioka should focus more on punishing bad tutors who basically plants the false and inappropriate seeds of darkness in the deepest part of these students' hearts. Izuku has the experience of studying under the surveillance of a bad teacher or teachers. Looking up at the sky, Izuku nodded. An indication to Kotaki's new mission. To hunt down the bad teachers along with the fake heroes. Kotaki knew who to kill and who to hurt. Izuku saw far between the clouds a green flash zooming away. Izuku loved Kotaki so much for being his side. He once saved the injured bird which later turned the most loyal friend that never will leave him. Izumi was walking midst of class 1 a line. Her stored up determination and will leaking out of her soul as her eyes adjusted to the sight and ears registered the voices. Over thousands of eyes watched them, and that's when it's live. Sure, her bad girl persona had the experience and no stage fright bothered her until now. Little did she or anyone else knew. People of this level of quantity will gather up and on top of cheering. The booing may be reactions they'll get if performance did not reach up to their expectations. Izumi was on wobbly feet just like many others. Her eyes were literally everywhere and they eventually land of Katsuki, who was 2 people distance away from in the front. Just like she expected. Katsuki didn't give a shit about the crowd. Izumi sighed a deep breath. However, she didn't got much relief. Like there an odd feeling of something she never experienced before. Like her heartbeat was restless and a burning touch on her head. The feeling when you think you're being watched. But 10 times worse. The feeling was strange and nerve-wracking. Sure, there's almost thousands of people watching them. But she have a hunch. That's not why it's happening to her. The feeling was intense, but yet did not her eyes catch anything suspicious as she looks up at the crowd. Well, who's she joking? It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Wall with Mina by behind. Izumi pick up Mina's silent squeals of excitement as they move towards the middle of the ground. Then again her senses was aware of that strange feeling again. Is someone using their quirk on her? What's other possibilities are? That it's all her mind playing tricks on her? Well, thinking of it, that one of good excuse too. But the fact or the source of the feeling yet to be uncovered. After all, she knows the feeling of being watched. They stood in a group not bothering to line up well as they looks up at Midnight, who got hungry glares from everyone around including females. Well, Nemuri is one of those chicks that nobody can resist. Izumi's sweat dropped seeing how shamelessly Midnight walks up to the stage to address the event. As you know, as usual, we'll kick things off with the top student little speech. Katsuki Bakugo, the hero course student. Since you've got the first place on the entrance exam, I welcome you to stage. Midnight said in the microphone. Toughening up his attitude, Bakugo climbed up the stairs as he clears his throat. I'm gonna win. Don't weigh me down with these extras. Katsuki stated, avoiding eye contact with Izumi at all the cost. Many disagreement and complaints thrown at his way, but he didn't mind that much. Izumi clenches her fists in anger. He dared to call her an extra? Again. She was furious but calmed herself down. Izumi concentrated more on Midnight, who spins a wheel, and the first challenge was the obstacle race. Cutting out any conversation, Izumi prepared for the race before looking around one final time, hoping to find anyone suspicious. But find none. Can things go any weird than that? First round of the festival is the obstacle race around UA. Let's see who makes it to round 2. OOHH year. Present Mike yells through microphone. Contestants, take your positions. He announced, and Izumi did, along with the horde of students, and Yuro was next to her. Good luck, Ami, she said. You too, Yura. And if I wins? Izumi started looking at Yurika, who looks at her. You won't run anymore like few minutes ago. Izumi finished with a smirk. Yurika face heat up but nodded anyway. They gathered in front of the tunnel that leads to outside and was waiting for a go sign. Ready, set, Gae-a-a-woo. Present screams on the mic, and they barely even heard the pyro go off. Izuku focused on the big LED screen, curiously watching for the future heroes in action. He can sense his sister's uncomfortable demeanor, and he intensified the tension in her brain by searching her soul deeper. Like he predicted, she had little no confidence in herself this time. But truth to be told, he was only caring about other students who worked really hard to get a seat at the hero course but wasn't as successful. Izuku knew nobody was paying attention to the general and other courses. That's no hero course. But looking at them, Izuku saw only true potential in them but gone wasted. Ready. Set. Gae-a-a-wu. Izuku heard Present Mike shout as the horde of students sprints forward. In the LED board, Izuku and other audience could see what's going on. Upon hearing the go sign, all students sprinted forward, and Izuku knew that the most of the students lacking behind did not knows that they can use their quirks as well. But soon their confusion died down as Todoroki releases a powerful wave of ice as he took the lead, freezing over half of the students in at entrance, rendering their movements useless. Todoroki was running with a hatred deep in them. The hatred towards the number 2 hero. His father. Endeavor. Sure enough, the man in the matter is around here somewhere watching his son compete. Endeavor is one of those human beings that is really selfish and ignorant. No matter the situations, they always consider themselves higher than anything or anyone. Watching the obstacle race, Izuku saw the slacking of students gave up running and those who are ahead simply keeps going. And the fight between them was raging before the final rounds. Izumi was behind the fighting duo that is Katsuki and Todoroki. Izuku on the other hand enjoyed watching the race. Sadly, most of the students with good quirks got left behind. Who to blame though? They do not know how to use their own strength. It took a while before he saw them crossing a minefield. Landmines exploded with the sounds that's audible even at the arena. All the while, Izuku saw Eureka slowly keeping her afloat as she crosses the minefield, and Izumi did the same with her psychic, but her fire quirk did its job to throttle herself forward a bit faster than others on the ground. Eventually, Todoroki blacked Katsuki path with ice but missed Izumi. The wall slowed him down and Izumi got first and Todoroki second. Katsuki third. But what did he expect? His senses are overriding with their emotions that's overwhelming their needs to the point. It's possible they'll overcome all odds. But in the end, one individual has either one of three: strength, intellect and determination. Won't make it to the finish line. Sure, Izuku knew the two since childhood, and that's also why he did not doubt them. Well, if it comes to strength, that is. Deep searching their souls, Izuku figured out one more thing. Either Katsuki or Izumi was pointless until his death. They're trying to become a hero for him. Not for themselves or not for anyone else. A guilt-driven decision. That's what this is all about. Izumi nervousness and losing confidence. Bakugo anger and misleading thoughts of superiority complex. They're experiencing these due to they want to be a hero, he wanted to be himself. Sure, they at some point of their lives promised being best heroes. But those promises halfway through got abandoned. Izuku wanted to become a hero that prioritize other lives beforehand. After his passing, they must have put those dreams on their heads. To become someone they barely are. That's the reason Izumi was uneasy. For her, she has to exceed expectations in front of them just for a hero that she's not. Whatever they're doing is following his own ideals that supposed to be died with him. At this, his sister doing all things mimicking him. Is that bad? The answer is a yes. Time skip after cavalry battle. Izuku wasn't impressed by his sister, who was literally brainstorming with no reason. With the team she chose being Eureka, Hatsune and Tokoyami. Eureka and Mei help them hover and speed up while Tokoyami deflect any incoming student attacks with the shadow. She failed to retain her 1 million titled ribbon, but in the end, Tokoyami managed to grab 1,000 titled ribbon and they earned a number 3 spot. First was Todoroki team. Second Bakugo. The main reason Izuku did not quite impressed by either of them was their teammates did the most work. Without Tokoyami quick thinking, things might have not worked. Yeah. 4 teams qualified to enter the final will be competing against one another in a one-on-one battle. Ladies and gentlemen, following the legendary finale, please sit back with your voices high. Present Mike was literally sticking to the window looking down at them. Izua's eyes twitched and groaned in annoyance. Until the next round begins. Those who want to prepare can take a break, while those who want to compete in some friendly competitions, please register your names to midnight. Izuwa calmly announced. Izumi heard it and decided to take a break, as well as other classmates who made it to the finals. I can't believe we made it. Mina said. I know. Right? I should call my mom. Okako happily said. Izumi sighed. Yura. I'm sorry about earlier. You know. I thought I got this. But. Izumi apologized. Others looked at her and saw guilt in her eyes. Hey. Don't blame yourself. Ami. We did not did any better than you, right? Yura assured her. You guys did amazing. I was all lost with weird impression. Izumi said sadly, smiling. Bakugo was silent and others did their best to cheer Izumi up. While they walked to their locker rooms, they looked forward and saw someone coming from the opposite side towards them. Wearing hoodie and all. Face hidden under it. They got a vibe of pure intimidation as the figure walks towards them. The main thing attracted their attention is the fact that people aside from students and teachers rarely even use this path. In fact, this way is prohibited from others to pass by. But their voice never sound their concerns out loud. They did felt something is weird with this guy. They looks at the tall figure who slowly was getting closer to them. Itza cleared his throat and looks at the man. Hello. I am sorry for the late not, but you're not permitted here. Mister. Itza said, but they didn't hear anything from him. As the figure passed by them, he looks at them, sending shivers down their spine. Eureka didn't see his eyes and she sadly did not figured him out. They halted, looking back as the figure looks back at them, and they heard him scoff. Why do I listen to someone who they're not themselves? His voice was heavy that made their spine jolt. They heard that voice before, but with all the tension they did not figure him out. Izuku said those words as while he's glaring at Izumi and then Bakugo, who felt their breath hitch. With his glare, Izumi felt that strange sensation of being watched again. While they're confused and looks at one another, Izuku left the scene. The final round was one-on-one battle that they were waiting for. Within next few minutes, the match card was on the LED board. It showed their opponents that they has to face in order to move on to the next round. Until the last one stands. The festival continues. It's matter of time when the winner stands tall at leaderboard. The 10 of them who won got listed and paired with random students. Katsuki Red Eyes intensely followed the name across him on LED boards. And then he slowly looks at the brown-haired girl who was frozen on the spot. It's Katsuki Bakugo facing Okako Eureka. Izumi was next to Eureka and placed her hand on the short girl's shoulder. Hey. It's alright. I know you can do it. Izumi encourages. Because Eureka seems stressed and panicked all of a sudden. After all, Katsuki is a strong dude. Okako must have that much of awareness. I know. It's just. Eureka started. She sighed, pulling out her phone. I was thinking of my parents. I told them. I'll do my best. She added and smiled at Izumi. And you'll do it? Right. Izumi asked, smiling back. Eureka looks at Izumi and thought for a second and nodded. You know. I got this. I'll do it. She said, determined. Eureka encourages her mind with words she knew that's hard to keep. Her parents taught her to never see others smaller than her abilities and strength. And on top of that, she's facing someone who's weirdly a hero type in his own way and stronger. This is challenge she'll take way more seriously than her well-being. She doesn't have motivation to do it, but she has to step out of her limitations, and she will. Today her limits won't stop her. She'll try. That's I wanted to hear. Izumi said, hugging Eureka. Thanks, Ami. Hey, we're buddies. Who else I support? Izumi replied, giggling. So. What about you? Who's up against you? Eureka wondered, turning her attention back to the LED board. Izumi sighed, already knowing who she up against. It's a guy of class 1C, I think. Shinsu Hitachi. Truly I don't recall I ever seeing him today. Izumi explains. Oh. If that's the case. You're at disadvantage. Eureka says, looking at the picture of sleepy-looking boy picture above his name on the board. Yeah. I'm kind of lost there. I don't know anything on him. His quirk. I mean. Izumi says. I don't know what to say anything. But good luck out there. Eureka wishes both of them luck. You too. Okay. Hey Ami. You don't mind if I attend this call? Right. Yurika asked, showing her phone. Of course not. Izumi last encouragement. Drifted off with Yurika lack of presence. The brunette was somehow calms her nerves if around. But when she distances their gap, the uneasy feeling currently haunting Izumi returns. Not like she's afraid of anything. Just her mentality on public interactions or public presence changed within a day. Izumi used to be confident, easygoing girl who never hesitate to speak what she wants to, in front of everyone. But sadly, the said courageous side of her disappeared mysteriously. The main thing that extinguished her confidence all of sudden is the new perspective of herself she desperately trying to portray in front of others. Be the greatest hero and become number one. That was her first view of being a hero before this whole U.A admission and Izuku passing. But soon enough, without her knowing, Izuku ideology mixed up with her own dreams that lead her to this extent of her worrying what the spectators would think of her. Now her ideology is the torn up version that merges both her and Izuku dreams together, pushing her out of her comfort zone and the understanding. Be the hero people think of first in their hearts and become the number one for them. Sadly though, she ever thought of reaching the spot of the number one all this time, and she was ready to. However, her guilt and overwhelming emotions made her follow Izuku's dream at some point and unknowingly creating a distance between what's she doing and what she wanted to be. Izumi sat there staring blankly at nowhere in particular as she felt something white from corner of her eyes. Izumi. A male voice snapped her out of her trance, making her flinch slightly. Eyes widen. She looks up at the owner of the voice. Ajiro. Looked back at her apologetically. Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. He apologized, bowing. Izumi shook off her frozen stature as she gave him a little smile. Don't apologize for it. By the way, what brings you to me? She wondered. He nodded and sighed. I saw who's you're up against the first round. And please hear me out on what I have to say. Okay. He asked politely and waiting for her answer. Izumi frowned but motioned his to continue. Starting off, I don't remember anything that happened at the cavalry battle. I know it sounds nonsense, but that's the truth. He starts, seeing her frown deepen, and he looks at the LED board, eyeing the boy in the interest. I barely remember much of it, and midway I woke up from whatever I was in. I came here to warn you. Izumi. I remember I answering his question, and after that I only remember pure darkness. He added. You mean that she put the dots together? Yes. You guessed it. Do at any cost. Avoid verbal exchanges with him. Don't speak if he's around. That guy's a bit sneaky and there's a higher chance of him taking you off guard. He finished those lines for her. Izumi looks at him and then at the LED board and nods. Okay. I'll utilize your advice. Thank you for the info. She said, standing up and waving at the tail hero as he walks away. 2 more minutes. And Izumi took a deep breath. At least she knows what she has to do now. Keep her mouth shut. Walking through the hallway leads the balcony again. Izuku walks calmly with hands on either of his hoodie pockets. He thought of his interaction with his sister and her friends, which wasn't his plan. Sensing some fake heroes at the less populated part of the arena, he was doing his duty, and when he was returning he chose a different way to get to balcony again, and that's how they saw him. He do recall he saw self-doubt and little confidence and the overflow of the nervousness in their soul and eyes. And when he saw his sister close enough, he senses she was doing worse than he originally thought. However, he didn't do anything to ease up their spirits or help out his sister. Izuku doesn't see a point of calming his sister, because there's a still part of him that hates her for she did to him. And that part of his heart is the biggest part. Sure, he should be hating Katsuki more than Izumi. But there's another reason to it. Katsuki never was his blood. But Izumi was. Whatever others do to him, being blood related, she could at least be nice to him. However, she hated him for no reason, and then all of a sudden she got more overprotective, or she was so mean to him. Before his last breath, she even hurt him physically. There's a lot of things proves that she deserves no forgiveness. Not for now. This time Izuku chose a free seat at the balcony, still away from anyone else. He was on time. Because soon the present Mike's screeching voice announced the main event of the festival. Ladies and gentlemen. Now the waiting hours came to an end. Please welcome our first pair of fighters. Let's see who will the one advance towards the second round. He shouted. First walking to the battlegrounds. The beauty of Class 1A. Izumi Midoriya. N. With the ferocity of a mountain cat. Shinso Hitachi of Class 1C. Present Mike said as two students with those names walks to the battlefield. Izuku chuckled hearing the fantastic introductions present Mike did. The ferocity of a mountain cat is mostly looking bored and sleepy. Then he got it right about Shinsu. The purple-haired boy looked more like a ghost than a mountain cat. Jokes aside. Izuku watches his sister and sensed her mindset. She's unusually panicking today. Her nervousness was also evident on her face as the cameras did a close-ups on both of them. Izuku was right. She's not herself now. She's just a puppet that was controlled by his long-lost dreams she picked up along the way. Izumi POV. Self-awareness hit me all of a sudden. I don't know why, but my concentration was full on the quantity of people gathered up and I can literally feel their eyes on me. My body was sweating and shaking. An ache on the midst of my heart. I don't know what's going on with me. But I really want to know. I'm also thirsty. Really want a drink because my throat was scratchy and dry. Those butterflies in my stomach keep increasing in size. My breathing sound was audible to me. I then looks at the boy standing across me. With a bored look on his face. I wish I was that calm right now. Little did I almost miss the K on beginning the match. Due to I wasn't concentrating anything until now. What now? I know my breathing hitching and heartbeat quickening. However, before I got here, I planned a simple strategy on the way. I looks up that boy who was saying something that I cannot hear. I can see his lips moving. And I can guess he's speaking full sentences, but still I cannot hear him. Truth to be told, I cannot hear anything at all. What happening? Looking around. My vision blurred a bit with black spots and sometimes blinding white light. Soon enough I felt like floating above the ground, but I'm sure my legs are safely on the concrete. Not high above the sky. Those feeling wasn't strange enough. But the next thing happened with me was my legs wobbled even though I no longer feel my own weight for some reason. Wait, my breathing, it's like a stutter. Inhaling and exhaling with a long lag. I don't know why when I looked around. All I saw was like watching a dream, but it was real. I don't know why there's no answering me of what's going on with me. After I don't how long. I did felt like I'm on my one knee now. And I had to look a bit up in order to make out the outlines of random things that I can't identify. Confusion creeps up my dizzy mind as I looked around, and I was met with a wide blue and dull eyes which was staring at me. Why though? What's happening with my lungs? They were tighter and heavy unlike usual. A warm something slid over my cheeks. With my unusually shaky hand I reached out to inspect what that warm thing on my cheek. As my fingertips brushed with it, even after my finger was numb, I knew the warm thing is wet. Tears. Am I crying? What's going on? Looking up at those blue-wide eyes, I squinted my eyes to get a better look at the person. The figure the boy was just blurred to me and my ears ringed all of a sudden. I wanted to blink, but I don't know why I don't feel anything at all. I'm sure that I was breathing normally. But why I can't breathe anymore? I subconsciously raised both my hands up and clutches my throat and slowly scratched my warm skin. I can feel my lungs shrinking and heart wasn't beating like it used to be. I can literally hear my heartbeats and nothing else. I did expected to hear crowd. But they are now silent. Wait. Crowd. I looked around once more and I saw something purplish pink blocking my eyesight. I can't unsee the purplish pink color anymore, and I little did pick up that. Those colors emitting out of my body. As if it's spreading. The color soon distanced itself to mine. Without knowing, an ear-splitting scream left my mouth like I'm in an intense pain. Honestly. I don't even know what hurts anything that's not my heart. Like it was being crushed. The pain was both numbing and agonizing at the same time. Is that why I'm screaming? I don't know what's what anymore. My head moved on their own as I stared up at the sky, which was so bright that I had to close my heavy eyelids. Then it was dark and my breathing was non-existent as I feel what's going on with my heart. I must have concentrated so much that I regretted it already as that numbness of it faded, exposing me to the pain that hidden behind it. Now I know why I screamed a little while ago. Because next thing I remember is I was on the ground rolling around and my nails left scratches on my skin as I scratched it out of pain. My heart was like being squeezed as well as bunch of knife stabbing through the flesh. Even though my thinking got more faded, I still realized what's going on with me. But it's too late though. Even though I can't breathe incorrectly. I noticed a nice smell enter my nostrils that somehow comforted me and pushed me into darkness. The arena was dead silent as they saw the picture of Izumi Midoriya on the LED screen darkened and Shinso picture brightened with some letters written under it. It reads winner. Like what the hell? The match just ended before it even started. Audience and teachers stared at the scene dumbfounded as they watched Midnight helping Izumi to one of the stretchers the medical bot's carrying. What happened now wasn't what they expected to see. Izumi Midoriya was standing before President Mike gives the start signal. However, with few minutes she was silent and was looking paler, and then out of nowhere a purple dome-like thing rounded her and she started to scream in pain. In the end, Midnight has to step in both to stop the match and also knock out Izumi. Watching the scene unfolds before his eyes and sighed. Before his death something similar to this happened to his twin sister. In front of him. Just like now. But that time Izuku was panicking and crying because she was in pain. She's fool to just let her emotions go uncontrolled. Izuku knew what's going on with her and has the perfect explanation for what happened to her. Izuku stood up and for the 5th time. He left the balcony and towards one place that's his new destination. Hands in pocket he walked through the corridors of the arena, and this time using a more public path than students only ones. Can't risk running into someone he don't wanna see. However, things always don't go that easily in life. He ran across a junction and first saw the broad shoulders of the flaming hero. Endeavor. Who has his back to Izuku? I know at some point. You'll see the true capability of the powers you're gifted with. Shoto. You'll come to line. Endeavor voice boomed, and that's when Izuku realized that Shoto Todoroki, his son, was with him as well. You're wrong. Old man. You got it wrong. Because I only consider my right side is as myself. My left side is cursed to me. To stumble into your line, you must have to break me first. But I have my motives that won't let me stumble on my way. I'll use my ice and master my right side, and you better watch out. I'll be someone that you never in million year can be. Shoto calm tone said with a slight hint of anger. I'll become someone who's not a monster. He added. Endeavor was staring down his own son, but before he could speak up, Shoto turned and walked away to his fight with Zero. Izuku stood there staring at Endeavor. It seems like the number 2 hero sensed his glare and turns around to look at Izuku. Endeavor could only see 2 intimidating glowing green eyes but remains calm. But deep down, Endeavor was really shocked. Because he was around strong and powerful foes and allies before. But neither of them has the aura the stranger possess. The strange part is that the guy is just standing there and his aura already different than even All Might. No. This stranger aura is something outworldly that he never seen before. That alone fact was enough to let Endeavor guess the power the stranger is stored in him. Endeavor. Izuku said the man name in a deathly low voice. Even though Endeavor is one of his targets, this part of the arena is filled with life. Izuku doesn't want anyone interrupt his job, and also he doesn't want to make the officials cancel the sports festival midway. Because they discovered the number 2 hero dead body. After hearing Izuku call him that, Endeavor's spine received the chills, which he never experienced before. A tiny droplet of sweat rolled down his temple as he looks at Izuku's green eyes. They are beautiful if you're a kind person. But a sinner could only see in those green orbs are their end. The finish line of their life. Izuku moved forward and faced the number 2 hero. I heard people are comparing you to the vigilante. If I'm not wrong, I wonder if your hell flame quirk is enough. But just to you know, I think you never saw the actual hell flame even in your nightmares. And I also think you'll have a taste of the real hell flame in the near future. That day is so near. Izuku said darkly and walked away, leaving Endeavor there, who was pretty shaken up. Within few minutes, Izuku got where he wants to be. The school infirmary. Not like he's there to see Izumi. He was just wandering around, and when he got there, he wasn't the only one there. The person was outside the door of the room anxiously waiting for something. Or he should be saying. Someone. Izuku stood there and smiled seeing this brunette again. She looks good even in that PE uniform. Izuku thought and nodded at his own statement. Izuku didn't even realize when he started to being a pervert. But the funny thing is, Eureka is the only one has that kind of effect on him. She's so told others that she wanted to become a hero because she wants money. But her intentions weren't bad at all. Help your parents struggling with financial issues with your hard-earned money and you won't take single coin out of it until your parents are okay with it? That's how Eureka thought of her dreams. Izuku moved closer to her and let his hood fall and cleared his throat. Eureka stiffened and looks up at him with wide eyes and he didn't miss her not-so-obvious red tint appeared on her cheek. Hey. Izuku waves and she gulped. Hey. She stutters and blushed again in embarrassment. Afraid he'll have the wrong idea of her behavior and figure out her naughty little secrets. What's up? Are you all right? Why are you outside the infirmary? He asked knowing why. Eureka blinks twice with the question. Why is she there? Standing and staring at nothing and looking lost. Oh Well you know. The Izumi Midoriya you saw at the field. Is my friend. I was told to wait outside so recovery girl aid her. Eureka said in a gloomy voice. The sorrow in her voice was clear as day. But Izuku on the other hand knew there's more to it than it looks outside. Eureka was sad. Because Izumi, unfortunately couldn't keep her promise. Izumi told her that she'll be on the top. Reality is after all is harsh and that's why Eureka learned the lesson. Do not keep the expectations high. But Izumi was a capable individual who can conquer anything if wished. And considering that, Eureka speculated there more than what she saw happen to Izumi. Izuku looks at her and smiled. That's so nice of you. This Izumi girl sure is lucky to have a kind friend like you. Izuku praised the already tomato-like girl who gained more red color as Deku compliments her. Hearing this handsome boy telling her such things as he looks at her adoringly was enough to make her heat up. She blushed even more as the heat increases down somewhere inappropriate place and was surprised as well to experience something that's so oddly foreign to her. Eureka didn't want to be a creep who eyeing up beautiful man and have this uncontrollable emotions. So she looks down at the ground. And nodded smiling. Like always. Izuku find it adorable. It's so strange though. That they only saw each other a couple of times and they both having this attraction beginning to build between them. I don't know how to think of that. I know you mean it. But to be honest, a true friend should know what's going on with the friend you care. But I don't know what happened to Izumi. And that's why I doubt my bond with her. Eureka mumbles without thinking. But eventually she realized it. She did talk too much. But though. Surprisingly she knew that it's not a bad thing. Psychic overload. Izuku said. Seeing Eureka's self-doubts and insecurities. What? She blinked back confused. Psychic overload. Since this friend of yours wields the power of the mental quirk. In short psychic. The power gets tangled if the mentality of the wielder is disturbed. I'm sure Izumi was a little bit uncomfortable or nervous out there. Psychic overload is same as a regular anxiety attack. The difference is, the psychic overload will crush the wielder with their own mental struggles and I know you heard her scream. Izumi heart may have gone through the said process and it always leaves the excruciating pain with the force of it thickens. Izuku explains and he knows all that because Izumi gone through it countless times. Panic was written all over Eureka's face. If midnight did not intertwine, Izumi may have died. Oh my god. She whispers. Izuku smiled and placed his palm on her trembling shoulder and she stiffened for a sec. Don't worry. I'm sure the god has listening to you. I'm sure Izumi Midoriya can and will surpass this. Izuku said. Now. I'm sure you're being late for your match against Katsuki Bakugo. You should go now. Izuku reminded her. Eureka shook her head and turns around to look at the infirmary door. But She stutters unsure if to leave Izumi's side. Hey Izuku calls her and she looks at those fiery green eyes. You have a promise to fulfill. He says leaving her all shocked. How, D? How do I know? I think it's because I understand you. And whatever I understand about you, I love everything of it, Izuku says and give her a teasing wink. Leaving her little puddle on the garden. Her heart did somersault and looks at him as he leaves. 2 days later. After the entertaining events of the sports festival of UA. Nobody was expecting the sickening horrors the following days. The public only had so much information on the green flame attacks. Even so, they were aware of the fact that mainly villains ever did fell into the death trap and that pretty much it. Public however soon proven wrong when they witnessed a burnt melting corpse of a local hero nearby the bridge. Which surprisingly not at all an isolated area. But still nobody see the onslaught and when they did. Informed officials within following hour. The media later arrived and unfortunately for the police. A reporter questioned a rookie officer. Who unknowingly confessed. This is clearly not the first time a hero body found. Shocked and enraged. Public and reporters marched towards the police headquarters and demanded some believable explanation. News spread like wildfire and the government had no way of hiding things anymore. Public panic was the only reason the truth never left the headquarters. But now a rookie did a rookie mistake and the higher-ups had to present an explanation. Like always. Police did not spill more than necessary and also the officer who leaked the supposedly secretive information got fired the same evening. Within matter of minutes. The higher-ranking heroes forced to take a full-time patrol in order to pinpoint or possibly capture this monster who unfortunately wields the power of the destructive hellfire. Up until now. Nobody except few heroes ever saw the vigilante. But nobody ever figured out the extent or the limits of his quirk. Hell. Nobody even knows the logic behind the fire quirk at all. Because whenever they find another corpse of a villain, you can clearly see the melting body and the surrounding. However, the unexplainable thing is, nobody has a clue how or why the victims of the dead villains are totally fine. No fire wound. Burn mark. Nothing. It's like the fire did not affected them at all. Things are fastly getting out of hand. So many heroes are spending overtime on the lookouts and the number 2 hero is the leading one. However, Endeavor refused to carry some loudmouths on his back and left on his own. He found various nice spots to hide and observe any movement from the target. But also, that's not his way of handling things. Endeavor is smart, strong, agile, durable and a perfect hero in a unique way. The only thing differentiating him with others is his horrible behavior. His ego and the effort to be a copy of All Might turned him into a monster. At least in others' eyes. In his eyes. He's right. Even though he's not. He don't realize what he's doing to his own family. Because he believes his decisions to be the best and that same belief keeping his brain occupied as he searched for green flame. Endeavor. I've lost sight of you. Where are you headed to? Endeavor heard Mirko's angry voice. She probably the second leading hero of their group. While Endeavor gone. It's up to her to drag the local heroes with her around. Separating. To cover more ground. Endeavor replies irritated. This is all a waste of time for him. You happily took the leadership back at meeting. And I expected more from you. Mirko hissed. I hate things weigh me down. He replied. Oh yeah. Fire trash can? People weigh you down. I now found why you never be the number 1. Mirko snapped and cut the call. Annoying. Endeavor grunts. Taking a leap up to another big building. He pretty much left a whole trail of melting footprints along the way and he doesn't seem bothered by the slightest. Times like this. When leaving behind your tracks is the most stupidest mistake one could make. On top of that, Endeavor is not all loved by anyone. Including villains. So there's a high chance of a villain coming after him. But still. Endeavor don't care. The notorious green flame is his main goal and Endeavor never did fail to achieve his goals. But here. Things are different. Not everything works on your favor. Minutes had passed. No lead whatsoever. Endeavor grunts annoyed and stands on top of a big building overlooking the city. The useless hours he spent for green flame frustrating him more than anything. It's unlike of him invested in one individual. And it surprised him at first too. Because All Might is the one person he ever paid attention to. Nobody ever interested him anyway other than All Might and now a mysterious vigilante caught his eyes too. Probably the lingering mystery that interests him. Or it's all just a curiosity. Maybe after he catches this vigilante, his interest maybe will die down as well. Endeavor slowly ran his eyes all over the city, down roads, narrow pathways between houses, alleyways, and even some old buildings. He eyes every single one of them in hopes of getting a glimpse of a green glow. Still, no sign of what he's looking for. Well, at least that's what he thought. Endeavor blew some air as he looks at the sky. With his right hand, he rubbed his face, irritated. His unfocused eyes picked up random clouds. It's all in various shapes and sizes. One with huge imagination would see things that's not there. And even the number 2 hero has some imagination in his brain that keeps running as his fiery eyes make out the moving white cotton of sky. But later what happened is beyond imagination. Nor did he imagine it happening. Endeavor posture stiffened and eyes widened. He saw something between the clouds. It was quick and like blur, it vanished. For a split second he saw something green flash by, and due to it flying higher than clouds, he did not saw what caused it. Whatever it was, Endeavor had this gut feeling that keeps saying it was following him around. Being followed, a feeling he always recognize. Up in the blue vast sky, a green glow never goes unnoticed. Not for an average human. And there's no doubt a number 2 hero who possess the power that's almost immeasurable cannot see the strange glow. The glow seems like moving in breakneck speed, which is so fast for an aircraft. Too bright and visible for a quirk user. At least a normal fire quirk user cannot produce that much of light and to stand out the most from thousands of feet high. If they're one to possess such abilities are probably considered more advanced or rather stronger. Even Endeavor cannot stand out from that high. And the lingering feeling of being followed not helping at the moment any slightest. It's as if somebody keeping an eye on him. Sure, Endeavor cannot confirm his doubts. But over the years of his services, he no longer stranger to identify these types of feelings. If there's really his doubts come true, Endeavor knows that it must be someone or something beyond strong. Fascinating. A single thought crossed Endeavor as he stared up at the sky. Well, he didn't have stare at the clouds for so long. Because it happened again. The green glow has returned. The same green light which strangely caught his eyes. But there's an exception to it now. The vanishing green light no longer disappeared. It just lingering there. Circling one spot, centering him. The sight of it caused his eyes to twitch. Endeavor so badly want to fly up there and research what's going on there. The problem is, even his egoism won't admit it. Endeavor cannot reach that high in a million years. His high speed of flying doesn't matter here. The truth is simple as that, the so-called number 2 cannot reach someone using their quirk illegally, and all he could do is think of thousands of useless ways to capture them. One of the few times he ever felt useless. His mind keep running and revising ideas. The lingering feeling of being followed is still there. And that thought brings him to another few questions. Who is this pursuer? What do they want? Are they even hostile? And last but not least, is he even looking at a right angle here? What if it's not him they pursuing? What if they're not what he think they are? Those are few the questions that yet to be answered. But all of a sudden, his mind processed what's going on. The glow is green up in the sky. A green he's possibly after all this time. A green glow they set an entire mission to track down, and finally, the origin of this green glow is no more foreign. It's familiar, and Endeavor knows who it belongs to. The one and only green flame. The notorious infamous vigilante. The bringer of the mass murders happening around. Now here is Endeavor. On a mission to capture the said vigilante, and on top it off, he found the said vigilante. But there's a complication. He can't get a hold of this vigilante even after being in front of his eyes. So close yet so far. Endeavor grits his teeth, and veins started to pop up on his forehead as his fists clenched to a point where he could hear it crack. Endeavor is going through a mental conflict right now. You know, the one you feel when you have something so close to achieve but an annoying obstacle that's immovable, blocking your way, preventing you from reaching the glory you crave. Endeavor, lost in thoughts, refused to contact any other inconvenience, such as the heroes assigned with him. This is one of those times where you aren't interested in sharing the victory. The circling glow lingered there for a few more seconds. But soon after Endeavor eyes look away. The glow halted on one spot. No. It didn't halt on one spot. In reality, the glow was descending the vast sky towards the ground level. Endeavor eyes widened in surprise as the glowing orb came down. Just as before. The speed it showing off was outstanding in many levels and the heat of it seemingly mimicking the one that of a morning sun. Either way. Endeavor's shock short-lived as he realized his target getting much more closer to him. What else great opportunity he have? Not wasting the said opportunity. Endeavor cracked a smirk on his face and he almost jumped up at the falling target. Keyword, almost. He stopped because he finally saw it. The green glow is not very big enough to fit the vigilante appearance. The thing emitting the light possibly just feet big. Just half of a normal human being. The conclusion of this doubt finally cleared, and that is, it's not vigilante he's looking at. It's just something else. The distance between them lessened quicker than a blink of an eye. But the incoming projectile speed and aura nowhere near promising a friendly touch but pure impact that could create a huge crater. That thought alone made Endeavor think or move faster out of the harm's way. Like a missile. The projectile crashed into the same place Endeavor stood a second ago. Endeavor flew up just as the dust kicked up and small portion of big chunk of debris got thrown everywhere and some even almost hit the number 2 in the process. Surprise was evident in Endeavor's structure as he landed few distance away from the crater. The crater itself was huge and deep. Dark smoky dust almost hid the attacker who presumably on the center of the big crater. The keyword yet again, almost. Because the green glow was so bright to be missed. But yet again the appearance of the attacker still remains hidden. But soon enough the smoke faded, slowly revealing the said attacker. This time though, Endeavor's surprise could no longer be contained. His anger vanished and the replacement of it was pure shock and amazement. Topping it off with bit of confusion. His expectations wasn't even close to the true reality which is getting unfolded before his very eyes. The mysterious pursuer and attacker didn't turn out the way he thought few minutes ago. A humanoid illegal quirk user. Who is 6 feet tall and muscular and scary. That's what he was expecting. Not a bird covered in green fire. Which logically impossible to happen. He could see the black charred bones poking out of its blade like feathers and could see its eye socket is empty with fire raging inside. Overall, the creature resembles a thing came out of the darkest pits of hell. It flapped its blade wings to hover few feet above the crater and the firebird already has its attention on the number 2 hero. What are you? Endeavor subconsciously asked. Obviously. There's no response. Within seconds of this mysterious encounter, Endeavor came up with a believable argument. This bird is a doing of some illusion quirk user or a shapeshifter. Either way, he's seen enough chaos already. The deaths of villains and random heroes don't matter anything to him. But the priceless value of the victory encourages him to stop this abomination once and for all. Endeavor soon regained his troubled posture. Appearing uncertain and troubled in front of your enemy leads to your own downfall. Endeavor learned it the hard way back in his rookie days. The firebird however mirrored his same still and calm look as it stared through his soul and seemingly refusing to back down. A deafening silence envelops the surrounding environment and their standoff intensified its tension. The slightest of hesitation behind his every motion added an unfamiliar weight on his shoulder was something he thought he lost it long ago. But seeing this unexplainable creature brings back the lost emotions and uncertainty. That one thought shows him that he's now confronted something stronger. Even All Might don't have this kind of effect on him. But a single bird covered in fire does. It is strange. I do wish to know who you dash Endeavor got cut halfway through his line before the fire raven was onto him. Due to lack of distance between them than before. The fire raven did manage to crash into its target. Endeavor's surprise was priceless. He did not expect any of this. Being thrown around by a small bird really affecting his pride and egoistic mind. A small bird that appeared out of the blue. Turned out this fire thing somehow inherits overwhelming power to know down a giant man. This giant man here is Endeavor to top it all. In midair, Endeavor spinned and tried his best to land on his own 2 feet. When landed, he didn't stop before skidding and colliding with a building behind him, creating a big dent on it. Blinding agility. Brute force of a strength. Extremely heated up physical abilities. What is this creature? Endeavor questions himself. Never in his whole hero service he ever came across such an enemy before. There's obviously no answer but a slight sound of the blade wings flapping. Kodaki hovered on one spot, but Endeavor spotted a twitch on its body and saw through an upcoming strike. The exotic bird, just as expected, was on the move. Like a missile it charges again, with its flames intensifying, and left a path of black smoke as it flew up to him. Endeavor, however, don't fall for the same thing twice. Charging up his hell flame quirk on both hands, Endeavor blocked the bird just as it crashed onto him. Endeavor got a strong hold on both of its wings and a smirk appeared on his face. The impact got nullified due to the spring-like motion Endeavor done with his hands, and the culprit of the mass murders is finally under the strong hold of the number 2 hero. I won't fall for that again. Endeavor roared and slammed the charred bird onto the already damaged ground floor and continued to slam it multiple times more. The force used on each slam was earth-shaking, and there's no doubt the bird is not gonna make it out fine. While Endeavor is at it, there's a thought keep poking his brain. The bird is still struggling violently, and few times he almost lost his grip on its wings. The unexplainable thing is, why or how is this creature got this strong? If you look from afar, all you see a grown giant man throwing around a mutated or deformed chicken. But if you are in Endeavor position, you'll get an idea that how lively and almost invisible the creature is. Sure, the powerful slams affecting it, but it doesn't doing much. After the 5th slam the heat on the Raven intensified, and the fire quirk user himself felt its intensity. Until now he completely ignored the heat of its fire. Well, now tables have turned. Green fire suddenly envelops both of its wings, and the heat almost melted Endeavor gloved palm. Sadly though, he lost his grip, giving the bird a chance to get back into the air. Endeavor hissed a bit as he takes a look at his slight burnt hand. Black smoke rose out of the red burns as he observed the damage. Thank his quirk for being a fire type. The burns did not affected him much. Kodaki recovered sooner than expected and was on his side in a second. Endeavor saw through its attack and focused his quirk on his right hand and shot a massive amount of scorching hellfire on the floor between the two of them. The firewall obviously didn't slow the killer bird on its tracks and easily cut through it. But Endeavor had it right where he wanted. Because the firewall was a simple distraction while he leaped up in the air just as the wall was created. Seeing Kodaki slow when it lost the sight of him, Endeavor came back down with a fire punch with his right hand. His left hand did the job of a booster, which continuously shoots fire to speed up the descent. The firebird got caught off guard as Endeavor threw the devastating fire punch. Sadly it hit the mark right on its torso, sending the deformed creature back to the big crater. The hit was nowhere near gentle or painless. The punch was clearly aimed to kill or hurt the foe real bad. The results are clear, and one could hear the boom it created from afar. Dust and piles of debris got kicked and the green glow lost its shine. Endeavor landed a few feet away and admired his handwork. With a smirk, he concluded the results on his own. "You have lost," he announced. Ego spills out of each words came out of his mouth, and a victorious smile appeared on his lips. Soon the dust cleared, revealing the firebird, whose fire now died down. Even though he no longer see green fire but black smoke, he saw its body twitching with life. Is this really what you are? A strange bird? A quirk user? The infamous green flame causing trouble around the street? If you are, how or why nobody able to capture you? A pathetic piece of trash. Endeavor mocked his downed opponent. He halfway forgot the strength it has stored due to the overwhelming pride and self-respect. After all, he finally defeated the notorious and so-called dangerous vigilante. Turns out it wasn't a vigilante, just a bird with an unknown origin. I thought you could give me a handful, but I think I pushed you too hard, Endeavor says as he climbed down the crater and picked up the black charred skeleton bird, which still got black smoke all over. Endeavor picked it up using its black metal wing and was about to return to police headquarters with his accomplishment. All of a sudden, green flames erupted in Kodaki's eyes, attracting Endeavor attention. Staring straight at Endeavor, Kodaki opens its mouth and lets an ear-splitting screech which sends supersonic waves directly hitting the number 2 hero. The sound was so loud, Endeavor almost felt his ears bleed and his eardrum break. Second time during this strange fight between an overpowered human being and a creature alienated from this world. Endeavor was once again lost his hold on the creature. Kodaki couldn't fly up in time and fell down with Endeavor, who cupped both his ears, because it was ringing and hurting. All he could hear is the ringing and nothing else. Endeavor had his one eye closed and the other was open, painfully looking at the struggling fire bird. Kodaki did its best to fly up, but the attempts turned out fruitless in the end. Endeavor power did quite a lot on Kodaki, and the hell-powered healing factor did nothing to lessen its damage. Without its master, Kodaki is almost vulnerable. Almost immortal but still killable. Endeavor breathing raised more as his senses are temporarily disabled. He cannot hear anything. He's pretty sure the wetness on his left palm is blood oozing out of his ear. Endeavor still gave the bird his all attention as he watched it stumble and flap its wings for almost a while. During that time period, his hearing ability slowly restored and the ringing almost died down. What felt like forever. Endeavor finally rose up to his feet. Staring down the healing fire bird, Kodaki managed onto its two legs, still having trouble to stay straight. I must admit, you got me there, Endeavor said in annoyance. His voice was high, because of his busted ears. Super strength at first. Speed of light. Now the annoying screech of yours. Endeavor started and leaned down to get a better look of Kodaki. And truth to be told, I was wondering. What are you? Endeavor questions. As if his question is some sort of trigger. Something happened. The struggling bird all of a sudden halted any sort of movements and stills. Then, swoosh. A sound echoes as if metal chains are swinging, and the bright green light comes with it was as blinding as the sound is deafening. Either way, Endeavor training and experience let him overcome both of the said uncomfortable feelings. Almost to a limit. Still, he pretty much struggled to focus. He saw the source of the sound, which was a hole made out of black charred metal chains and green flames enveloping it. Fire circle appeared few distance away from Kodaki, and the rubble melted under the heat of the fire circle, which exactly looks like a portal of some sort. Endeavor squinted his eyes to have a better look at the circle, and all he see is green fire and multiple fire chains and sparks flying around. What the? Endeavor grunts. Few seconds of staring at the fire hole. His eyes got adjusted to the intensified light. Atmosphere changes its temperature quickly, and the fire quirk user felt the heat. Which is surprising. Normally heat don't bother him much, but this time is the first exception. Cling. 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 The metal clinging sound, which sounded more like footsteps, came out of the fire portal. Endeavor eyes looks closer to see something clearly, but to no avail. Then there he saw a silhouette slowly becoming visible as they were getting closer to the portal. The person got out of the portal before it closes behind him, revealing Deku, who stood there looking down at Kodaki. This time though, his identity didn't kept behind his hood like usual, and his real face is visible to Endeavor. Slowly Deku looks up at Endeavor directly in the eyes, and the number 2 hero brain clicked with realization. Endeavor seen those green intimidating eyes before. And he clearly remember where did he see it? You. Endeavor started. You figured me out. I was hoping to see you soon. But never thought of it being this early. Deku said. He then crouched next to Kodaki and placed a palm on top of its head. Then the green flames healed the firebird, which elegantly took off into the air and then shifted back to its normal form before landing on Deku's shoulder. Endeavor watched it happen, and he could barely hold back. The look of shock appeared on his face. You're saying that you were looking for me? Why? To hand over yourself? Endeavor mocked. Izuku chuckled softly and shook his head. Haha. You know what I like about you the most? Endeavor. You always looking fearless even though you are unsure of your decisions. I have never seen you afraid, but your soul answers me. Deku replied, which earned a strange look from Endeavor. Endeavor then examined the individual standing in front of him. Sure, if the bird he thought was the culprit have a master, then the bird is not the one he's looking for. That means. So. The whole Tokyo was after you. The mysterious vigilante and the murderer of hundreds. Turns out you're just a child. How about we make this quick? Put up as little struggle as possible and I'll do the rest. Endeavor said. I'm afraid things go way different. Deku replied with chuckle. And? Do you know something? Enji Todoroki. Deku started. Endeavor face dropped when Izuku called him by his real name. Do you know that? Your family asks the same question you ask my companion whenever you fail to become their world. They ask the same about you. The question, what are you? Deku finished speaking, leaving a speechless Endeavor. I thought. Heroes do exist so people could live in peace. But your family got the worst version of a hero in their household. I guess. Izuku said when Endeavor failed to reply. What are you getting at? Are you speaking with false assumptions? Endeavor questions. But sounded desperate. His personal secrets are no longer secrets. Endeavor is aware of what is the vigilante getting at? But refused to confess. Oh. I believe you know the truth. The suffering and grief you caused on your own bloodline for the past few decades. It doesn't matter you confess or not. I have my ways to deal with stuff. Deku said in dangerously low and threatening manner. Endeavor don't buy this anymore. So he took a more heroic approach. Beats me what you're saying. Whatever. Just surrender Green Flame. Or whatever your name is. I know media don't get every answers. So they create their own. And I know you don't go by the name Green Flame by yourself. If you do. Then the name is stupid. Endeavor replies coldly. Deep in his heart he knows that he's hiding the truth, but what matters more is keep this fire quirk vigilante behind bars. See. I knew you are smarter. I guess you're right. Green Flame sounds lame. Izuku started. Spit it out. It may be helpful for me later when I make it to the front page of the newspapers. Endeavor says arrogantly and moved forward. Threateningly close to Deku with his fire raging. Oh. With pleasure. I'm really happy to go by who I really am. Deku said with a unsettling wide grin. Endeavor left eye twitched. A sign of danger. His eyes then picked up the black smoke rising from the vigilante's shoulders. Even though Green Flame is self-explanatory name. I have a title of the writer. Izuku continues as the black smoke grew in quantity and his eyes turned bright green and his voice grew heavy to a point where it sounds like it belongs to a demon. The Ghost Rider. And I see the sins your soul is stained with. Let me see Deku sentence got cut short when something heavy came and connects with his side. Kodaki just in time flew up as its master got kicked off of his feet. Endeavor looks at the source of the distraction. And growled at the one person he didn't want to deal with right now. What are you doing here? Mirko. Endeavor grunts. You want me to answer your questions? Too bad I despise you. Mirko says and stood there facing Deku. Who is now slowly getting on his feet. I see you found someone here. Mr. Flaming Trash Can? You did things well for the first time, huh? Mirko says, earning a hard stare from Endeavor, but she ignored him. Mirko looked closely at Deku, who is now standing there staring at Endeavor and her. She saw his glowing green eyes and black smoke coming out his body. I heard you two talking. Endeavor wasn't lying. You're just a kid villain. Tsukachi probably has a ton to ask you, Ghost Rider? Isn't that name is bit too creepy? Mirko comments as she analyzed Deku. Who chuckled in his current deep voice. His voice sent shivers down their spine. Which was so odd. It's so rare that a villain has this kind of effect on them. You're calling me a villain? Hero Mirko? Then what you call your friend over there? What you call this hero community? I'm sure you got the perspective of this world upside down. Deku said in his deep voice. He's in middle of both his normal and hell formation personalities that. He says things wisely and calculated with a terrifying grin. They only see a monster ready to pounce but pretended he has no effect on them. Say what you want when you're in jail. Rider. I advise you to stay put and don't think of any funny ideas. Mirko commands, taking a fighting position. Just in case. I see no stained soul in you. Deku said, pointing at Mirko. Who raised a brow in confusion. Rumi Yosagi ya. He finished, taking her off guard. She's startled like never before. A highly classified or personal information. Which she never revealed it to anyone. Even her fellow hero team members. That doesn't explains why a psychopathic murdering vigilante is aware of it. That gives you enough reasons to stay out of the way. Deku said in a low voice. I prefer the same. Nobody wants you here. Number 6th hero. He and I have personal businesses. Endeavor says. I don't care what you two have. But I won't let him slip out again. Mirko stated confidently. I've seen enough bloodshed. She added. Deku then laughed. Not smile. Nor chuckled. He laughed like a madman. His voice added the extra terrifying factor which possessed the ability to creep out anyone. Oh. Trust me. When I'm done here, your wish will come true. Just as he said that, both heroes could feel the ground shake. They instantly figured out something is wrong. They leaps out of the way just as dozens of fire chains erupts out of the ground and attempted to grab them. Thankfully they managed to escape. What the hell? What's going on? Mirko shouted as she landed and stared at the snake-like spiky fire chains. The next second, they vanished back to the ground. Endeavor confusion and amazement was evident on his face. He didn't see it coming. His quirk? What is it? He thought. Mirko looks at Deku and sighed. Screw it. She cursed and took off straight at the vigilante. On the way, multiple fire chains came out of the ground and she dodges it left and right. She faced hard time to evade the chains. However, one thing was strange. None of the fire chains produced any heat even though they looks like they are melting. She cleared her way through the fire chains forest until she has view of Deku. She used both her legs to power up jump and flew up and came down with a punch ready to hit him. Deku rolled out of the way. Her both legs radiated a massive shock wave, creating a crater upon contact on the already destroyed floor. Deku took his eyes off of Endeavor only for a second and before he knew it, Endeavor was on his side so fast. Izuku ducks just in time to miss a raging fist but Endeavor used his knee to hurt Deku chest. Endeavor knee connects painfully against Deku chest sending him across the battlefield. Seeing his master in pain, Kodaki tried to transform, but couldn't. Deku stops its transformation via mind link. Stay down. I don't want to cause you any permanent mark, Mirko says. This time though, Deku was as silent as a calm sea, hiding danger in its calmness. He looks at them with his green glowing eyes and stood up from the place where he fell. I wish you two were understanding, Deku says. The next thing they know is something wrapped around them. Mainly Mirko. Fire chains wrapped around her like thousands of snakes and thankfully the hellfire didn't burn her. Only one chain came in contact with Endeavor which wrapped around his left hand. But the chain wrapped around him melted both his clothes and skin and flesh unlike Mirko. Endeavor tried to hold back his screams but was successful halfway. Mirko saw this, which added more fuel into her confusion. You won't win, Endeavor. Sinners must punished, Deku said gaining both their attention. The crimes you've done don't deserve any forgiveness. You will feel the pain of your family. Your victims. With that being said, the fire in his eyes intensified and the black smoke rose off of his body increased by the passing second. Then his face cracked and charred, which peeled away his blackening skin revealing green flame, black smoke and burned skeleton in it. Now they saw no boy with power. They saw no vigilante with psychotic grin. They only saw a monster out of a nightmare who make you scream because you're petrified of it. They saw it standing there and seemingly staring at them with its hollow fiery eyes. There stood the rider. The Ghost Rider. Declaring the number 2 hero fate. Both hero had their eyes bulging when they saw this new abomination. The fire skeleton wearing burning leather outfit and its surroundings lighting up and melting under his fire heat. Kodaki turned into its hell form with its master and sat on the rider right shoulder. They finally started to wonder if they even witnessing a grim reaper. The rider took a metal clinging step followed by another. And another then another until he's directly in front of Endeavor. Rider tilted his head sideways and stared deeply into Endeavor's soul. Endeavor don't know what to do when this fire skeleton is in front of him. But containing what left of his courage, he mustered enough confidence and aimed a punch directly at Rider's skull. Midair. Endeavor fist was caught like it's nothing. Endeavor fist is in an iron grip that is impossible to free out of. Endeavor even used a fire barrier to push the rider away, but the green flames sucked the orange flames in and nullified Endeavor quirk. Mirko don't know what's going on right now. She's literally watching a skeleton walking around covered in fire who possess the power to take heavy hits. The logic behind it got thrown out of the window. There's no logic to begin with anyway. Ryder then finally looks into Endeavor eyes and then the pain followed. The Endeavor, who is as rough as a cold stone, finally started to scream at the top of his lungs in pure agony. His stained soul hurting him the same way he hurt others. He hurt his family. So it hurts him double. Flashbacks and memories of what happened with his family and his victims flashed before his very eyes, and he is now feeling every single pain he inflicted on others. Endeavor fiery eyes turns back to normal and the fire covering his face and suit disappeared. Ghost Rider destroyed one thing that lead Endeavor through the path of arrogance. And that is his quirk. Finally the punishment was over. Endeavor unconscious body then fell and was dangling on the fire chain. After what he did to Endeavor, he turns back normal and a fire chain portal appeared behind him. I hope that helped you any better, Deku said and walked back into the portal. The chains holding the heroes on the place vanished as Deku vanished into the portal, leaving a completely fine Mirko with her now wounded enemy. Okay, bye guys, see you later.